I hate the title.
Me too.
Really, what's wrong with it?
The Princess and the Peasant.
Yes.
Please, Trumbo, it sounds like a puppet show.
Well, then change it.
I did.
Really? You think this title's better? Roman Holiday.
I like it.
Who invited you?
Nominated for the Academy Award for Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role in 2015, Bryan Cranston's portrayal in Trumbo is based on the true story of one man who changed the face of Hollywood in a time of political unrest. Dalton Trumbo was the highest-paid screenwriter of the 1940s, but what soon became a determining factor in the course of his career was the fact that he was a member of the American Communist Party. In a time when the United States feared communist insurgents into the country, drastic measures were taken to ensure that the communist threat was eliminated. For Dalton Trumbo and many other prominent filmmakers of the time, this meant being summoned to appear on trial before the House on Un-American Activities Committee.
Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Chairman, first I should like to know whether the quality of my last answer was acceptable, since I am still on the stand.
This had nothing to do with your last answer or the last question. This is a new question now.
I see. Mr. Strickland, you must have some reason for asking me this question.
You can address the committee.
Trumbo and 9 other men refused to speak against themselves and were sent to prison for a year. Upon getting out of prison, these Hollywood 10 were blacklisted from the industry for 13 years, during which no one would hire them or produce any work for which they were credited.
And you don't want your name on it.
No, you don't want my name on it.
You got that right. Especially if you're still, up to stuff. Oh, yeah?
Perpetually.
During the early 1940s and the Cold War, the intensity of the Red Scare and frequency of communist witch hunts began to increase. While the majority of American communists held their beliefs out of a desire to better the world, they were still thought of as associated with their more radical Soviet counterparts. The Cold War raised public suspicion of anyone in America known to be involved in any Red organizations. It was the House Un-American Activities Committee, founded in 1938, that spearheaded the witch hunt for Soviet spies. The film industry was one such target of the HUAC due to its immense popularity in the press and sheer number of known communist sympathizers. The official front for the investigation of Hollywood was that screenwriters, such as Dalton Trumbo, were supposedly putting communist propaganda into movies, while producers and directors ensured that films depicting American ideals were not getting made. Out of the HUAC hearings came the Hollywood 10, a group of 10 prominent men in the film industry who refused to answer the HUAC's questions and accusations of communism. Dalton Trumbo was one of these 10 men, who each went on to serve 1-year prison terms for contempt of court.
Since prison, you don't talk or ask. You just snap, bark. I keep waiting for you to start pounding the dinner table with a gavel.
After getting out of prison, the Hollywood 10 were greeted with resounding exclusion from the film industry. Dalton Trumbo and the Hollywood 10 were not the only victims of the blacklist. Workers at all levels of the film industry were effectively shunned from their field. Production houses would not accept their work, and if by some chance a project connected to someone on the blacklist was completed, it was widely understood that the film would be boycotted. It is obvious that the HUAC and the blacklist greatly impacted the film industry in terms of people making the films. However, since film so often mirrors life, the Red Scare also had an impact on the content of the films being made. This is easy to see, especially when comparing films made at the height of the Red Scare with those made just a decade later. Films from the late 1940s, such as The Woman on Pier 13 and Red Planet Mars, depicted the horrible evils of communism, whereas films such as The Manchurian Candidate and Advise and Consent from the early 1960s reflect on and make fun of how the American people handled the Red Scare. The Woman on Pier 13 is about a woman, Nan, who marries Brad, a former member of the American Communist Party. Before too long, a local communist leader begins to blackmail Brad, claiming that if he does not meet his demands, he will reveal Brad's past party affiliation. This film stresses the supposed evil of the Communist Party by comparing them to mobsters and implying that no one can ever truly leave the Communist Party.
If you call the police, your husband will be arrested for murder.
Similarly, in Red Planet Mars, anti-communist sentiments are expressed, except this time they're through alien transmissions. The transmissions claim that Mars is a utopia fueled by a nuclear power which has led to great technological advancement. This revelation leads to political and economic chaos. As a result of global panic and the threat of aliens bombing the planet for straying from the Bible, revolution ensues. This includes the Soviet Union, which Americans are happy about.
Eine Person von höchster Wichtigkeit zu tun haben.
Полученная сейчас радиопередача с Марса.
Both films depict Soviets and communism in a negative way, which aligns with the political atmosphere of the time. Just 10 years later, films like The Manchurian Candidate came out and mocked the seemingly outrageous fears of Americans of the time. The Manchurian Candidate is about Shaw, a soldier who was brainwashed by communists during battle, only to return to America and be used as a weapon. Shaw's mother is a social climber and the puppet master behind her political figure husband. The pair constantly accuse their opponents of communism, yet it is Shaw's mother who paid the communists for the service of a brainwashed assassin. The story not only pokes fun at the exaggerated fears of the time, such as brainwashing, but also depicts the tendency of political figures at the time to cry wolf, or communist, as it were.
Another modern discovery, which we owe to the hydrangea, concerns the influence of air drainage upon plant climate.
Advise and Consent came out the same year and also features the influence of personal political agendas. The film tells the story of a liberal man nominated for Secretary of State who is accused of communism by a conservative politician. Not unlike the HUAC hearings, accusations of past indiscretions are thrown around and used as political blackmail.
You think the world thinks it's funny that the Senate is trying to smear a man who believes in peace? Do you think the people of this country think it's funny?
Both The Manchurian Candidate and Advise and Consent provide a more reflective look on the paranoid madness caused by the Red Scare. It is clear that the film industry did not come out of the blacklist era unscathed. What remains to be seen, however, is how an industry related so much to social and political atmospheres will react should history ever repeat itself.
Because everything they can do, they've already done. That Oscar belongs to you. Get it.
The envelope, please. The brave one, Robert Rich.